radio is AD on the radio. What?
Today on the show, Donald Trump schools a bunch of Boy Scouts about how much action one can get if one is a real estate tycoon with a yacht. Apparently, it's quite a bit. Plus, pretty soon you're going to be able to understand what your pet is saying to you. And finally, Funkhouser learns how to tell if a girl is into him in just a few seconds.
Oh, great. So I can know I'm rejected quicker.
Well, as our sales staff would say, Funkhouser, every no gets you closer to a yes.
Let's go! Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is a no, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So were you ever a scout? Oh man, I love scouting. It was a blasty blast. I mean, I got into it with the following logic. When I'm at home and I'm playing with fire and knives, it's not looked upon in a favorable manner by my parents. But from what I understand about scouting, a large portion of it involves fire and knives. So I'm in. And you know, it was, I suppose, a little disappointing to me. I grew up in England, and it was interesting because England has their own Boy Scouts, but for whatever reason, I was in an American version of Boy Scouting in England. And it was like mostly just the kids in my school. So it wasn't like a big, massive type of thing. And we didn't go places and do stuff the way I perceive scouts do. Like, I remember spending a lot of time inside because in England, it rains a lot. It's cold a lot. And I get that it rains and it's cold in other parts of the world, too. America has cold, rainy parts of this great nation. There are cold, rainy parts of this great nation, rather. And I don't know. I just imagined that it would be a lot more adventurous, outdoorsy, and involve significantly less quiet time. I think my den mother was a rather exasperated lady who wanted her kid to be in scouting or was part of a family where scouting was very highly valued and realized that if there was not an Akela, a den mother, then the kid wouldn't have scouting, and therefore she just kind of wanted to get the job done. And as a consequence, we spent a lot of time inside doing things that did not involve fire and knives. So I was a little disappointed, but a lot of it was a lot of fun. Like the Pinewood Derby, you ever do that thing? My car never won. Other kids' cars like zoomed down the track at high speeds. Mine would always get stuck on something. And then the rocket races as well. Yeah, no, I never won. I never won for painting it well. I never won because my rocket or my Pinewood Derby car won a race. But it was so much fun getting together with a bunch of other kids. It was so much fun getting together and working on your merit badges. And it was so much fun just being a kid. That was, I think, the best part of it. Being a kid with other kids. And, you know, in there are some really good lessons. Even though we weren't outside building fires and whittling the way I'd hoped we would be. I did have to learn what a scout was. I did get an introduction into some values. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly. See if I can remember all these. Wait a second. Let me try again. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty. I thought that was interesting. A scout is thrifty. I think that's a holdover from the sort of World War II Depression era. Thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Yeah. I thought it was so cool being a scout. I had so much fun. The disappointing aspects of not being able to cut wood and start it on fire on a regular basis and not doing that many outdoorsy, adventurous-y things were outweighed by the experience that I had with other boys, just being boys. And you know what? I liked that pledge. I still remember it, every word of it. I think they're simple, basic things to live by. Now, eventually I bailed on scouts. Why? The Ravioli song. Did you ever have to sing that? I don't think it was exclusive to scouting. But this is the sort of thing that we did. We got indoors in a classroom after school, and we sang the occasional song and we worked on projects and stuff. And we had to sing that ravioli song. You ever sing that, Funkhouser? Ravioli, I like ravioli, ravioli, it's so good for me. Do I have it for breakfast? Yes, I have it for breakfast, for breakfast, for breakfast, for breakfast. Oh, ravioli. You ever sing that thing?
No, I was not a Boy Scout.
No.
I've never even heard that before.
Oh, man. And so, like, you would go around the room, and each kid had to think of a place where the ravioli might be. Like, do I have it in my backpack? Yes, you have it in your backpack. Ha, ha, ha. He's got ravioli in his backpack. That's going to leak. That'll leave a mark. You don't put ravioli in a backpack. And we thought it was really funny. I remember... Where did I say I had ravioli? I think I said I had ravioli in my fridge. I was really uncreative with it at the time. But we're going around the room saying different places where we had ravioli while singing the ravioli song. And this one fellow Boy Scout went, do I have it in my butt? And the entire room went, yes, you have it in your butt. And the Akela, the den mother, stopped everything and took the kid out of the room and admonished him severely. And that kind of like killed scouting for me. I was like, that seemed a little unnecessary. And why I told my mom I quit, she actually wrote down so she could read it back to me later so I would know what it was she dealt with when I was a child.
Real radio.
104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So we're all singing. A group of young boys singing the ravioli song. Ravioli, I like ravioli, ravioli, it's so good for me. Do I have it in my fridge? Yeah, you have it in your fridge, And anyways, we're having a great old time. And one kid, when it's his turn to pick where the ravioli is, he goes for a specific bodily orifice. And everybody is in hysterics. We thought it was the greatest thing ever. Do you have it in your butt? Yes, you have it in your butt. This rules. Ha ha, he's so funny. And then the den mother, the Akela, stopped everything, took the kid outside, admonished him. And that had sort of a profound effect on me. Like, we're boys being boys, having a good time. And this kid got chewed the hell out. And I appreciated the moral code. I appreciated being trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. But I also thought this wasn't school. It was supposed to be fun in a way school was not. This wasn't supposed to be strict disciplinarians that you were afraid of. And even though I didn't get chewed out, man, I wish I would have thought of saying that. But my ravioli, as I believe I mentioned earlier, was in the fridge. I was like, yeah, I don't know. If this is what scouting's about, I don't know if it's for me. And I told my mom when she asked me if I wanted to continue scouting. When she asked me if I wanted to continue scouting once the next year rolled around, I told her something that she actually wrote down. She wrote it down and held on to it and then read it back to me later on in life because she wanted to get across what kind of child she'd been dealing with, like what I put her through. And she apparently, according to the note that she wrote down, asked me, hey, do you want to continue to do Boy Scouts next year? And I said, nope. And she said, well, why not? And I said, Mom, there you go. Now, can you not imagine the joy that erupted from a room full of young boys when some kid asked if he had it in a specific bodily orifice that is south of the equator? We were in hysterics. And like I said, this poor kid got chewed the hell out. You never sang that song, Funkhouser? That was never a part of your upbringing?
Never crossed my path. In fact, it was hard to find on YouTube just now.
Oh, wow. Well,
For
there
me.
you go. But so this kid got chewed out, and I was like I said, a little disillusioned with the whole thing with Scouts because, man, I got an earful from every single teacher I had. I never seemed to be able to make them happy or right. I was always getting into some sort of trouble, and I lived in constant, not fear, but like, oh, man, I'm going to get yelled at again. This is going to suck. I never felt that at Scouts until I saw this one kid get taken to task for what he did to the Ravioli song. And so later on, when my mom asked, would you like to continue scouting next year? I said, nope. And she said, why? And like I said, she wrote this down. I don't remember saying it, but she wrote it down and read it back to me later on in life. I said, Mom, scouting is too moralistic and time consuming. These were exact words, like I was 11 or something. And despite the fact that I decided I had other things that I wanted to do with my time, I really valued everything that I did in scouting. And I think the reason that I valued it so much was because aside from the fun activities and the learning, and, you know, I learned how to make a fire in Scouts. Eventually, we did go on a camping trip, and eventually I did learn how to make a fire, and it was done in a fun way, and I got to use that pocket knife, and, you know, I got my fix of all the scouting-related things. I got a little bit of moral guidance that I thought made a whole lot of sense to me. I thought trustworthiness and loyalty and all the above were good things. But the thing that I enjoyed the most about scouting was it was a chance for kids to be kids. It was a chance to be that special kind of silly together that you only get to be before your innocence is taken from you by the world. Or, you know, by a visiting president at your jamboree. Did you catch this? Did you catch this just the other day? Donald Trump visited the Boy Scout Jamboree. Yes. Where was it? Where did it happen? I think it was it in West Virginia? But anyways, on Monday, he visited the Boy Scout Jamboree, and a lot of presidents have made an appearance at the Boy Scout Jamboree or addressed a Boy Scout Jamboree, and it's not an overly political thing. It's a chance to talk about serving the community, being upright, morally straight people, being someone who makes the world a bit of a better place. There was never any party politics involved. But this is what happened when our president went to the Boy Scout Jamboree.
The president talked to thousands of scouts yesterday at the gathering in West Virginia about success and achieving their dreams. But he also delved into politics.
Our stock market has picked up since the election, this horrible thing known as Obamacare. November 8th, do we remember that date? Was that a beautiful day? The polls, that's also fake news. You'll be saying Merry Christmas again. Did President Obama ever come to a jamboree?
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
So here's the thing about kids. Kids are pure. Kids are figuring out the world. This bunch of Boy Scouts that Trump addressed, I don't mean to sound overly dramatic, but had a little of that taken from them. Unless scouting has changed dramatically since I was a scout. I did all Cub Scouts, and because I wanted to see it through and become an actual Boy Scout, went through Webelos and got my Arrow of Light, where I was officially a Boy Scout. And that is when I told my mom, Dad, I don't think this is for me. By that time, I'd really discovered punk rock, and I really just wanted to sit in my room playing drums for 8 hours a day. And, well, the jamborees didn't really leave a lot of time for that. The weekly Cub Scout meetings didn't leave a lot of time for that. The requirements to do merit badges started to feel a little bit more like homework. But I really valued the time that I was in the Scouts, and I valued it because I got a chance to be a kid with other kids, having fun, being goofy, learning things about the world. And like I said, we eventually did go on that camping trip where I learned how to set fires and whittle things. So knives and flames were a part of it. I was a happy camper, literally and figuratively. We got all that stuff in Scouts. But like I said, that purity, well, some of that was taken from Scouts with the way our president spoke to him. Now, look, here's the thing. You might have noticed that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of Obama when we've talked about him in the past. Not a huge fan of a lot of liberals. You might have noticed that I rail against certain foolhardy Republican types. And here's the thing. If you're new to the show, you should know that I don't believe in party politics. I don't believe in the limiting lack of critical thinking in voting straight ticket anything. I don't believe that everything Donald Trump has done has been bad. Look, just the economic policy stuff alone. People say, I wish he wasn't a big mouth. I'm like, sometimes I think there's an advantage to his big mouthedness. I love him going, believe you me, there will be a tax at the border on anything that's made in Mexico when I'm president. This was before he was even president of these United States of America, and car companies adjusted their plans for the next 4 years accordingly before he was even president. Shooting that big mouth off gave a lot of people jobs in Michigan, and I thought that was cool. There are times where I am utterly embarrassed by the man. And there are times where I'm like, oh, really? I suppose this falls into that category. It's not simple. People would love it if things were simple. People would love it if there was black and white. Simple folks like a simple narrative fall asleep at night and feel okay about the world and kid themselves that it's a place that they understand and it's easy to navigate it. When it's not, it's complicated. And as soon as you embrace the fact that it's not easy and it's not black and white and lines aren't clearly defined, the more free you're going to find yourself, and the more you're going to find yourself taking personal responsibility for your own life. And that is going to add to that sense of, well, freedom. So there's times where I'm actively defending Trump's actions and saying there's good staring you right in the face. Take what you can get. Leave out the rest in this case. And there's times where I'm mortified and disgusted. And I suppose I take this ultra personally because there's certain things that I believe should be left alone. Certain things I have, I guess, more compassion for than others. Animals and kids fall into that category because they can't help themselves the way we can. They're not adults. They're not human adults if they're animals. But yeah, this is why I have a problem. I suppose this is why it irritates me. This is why it really gets under my skin. This is not what scouting was supposed to be about, at least not when I was a kid. I never earned my partisan, divisive, setting Americans against one another, snarky, smack-talking merit badge. Maybe if there was one of those, I might have stayed. That sounds fun to the 12-year-old me. But like I said, has little to nothing to do with the fact that a scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. I remember all those things. I was made to recite them, and they stuck in my head. They got in there. To this day, I think of all those as being excellent values. And so, while I was goofing off, having some fun with my friends in scouting, I think some real value was surreptitiously created in my young mind. At no stage in that oath is a scout said to be a weak-minded political shill. Scouting is about service to one's country, though. One thing Trump didn't talk about? He didn't talk about the fact that scouts supported their country in the Second World War. I remember learning that in scouting. Learning that there was always a way to be of service. I was held up as an example. During the Second World War, scouts were obviously too young to go fight, but they helped, they contributed. Scouts sold war bonds, helped raise money for the war effort. they actually ran messages for the military. Oh, man. As a 12-year-old, when you hear that you could actually run messages for the military, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess they wouldn't do that in this day and age. But I was enthralled by that. It sounded so cool. And it gave me a sense that there was real ability to be of service, no matter who you are or what you did or what position you were in. Yet, like I said, not a ton of talk about that. Not a ton of talk about that in Donald Trump's speech to the Boy Scouts of America. There was, however, talk of a real estate tycoon who apparently got rich, sold his company, and managed to get a ton of booty on his boat. Yeah, there was a story about how much sex one can have if one owns a yacht at the Boy Scout Jamboree, which I have to be honest, would have freaking delighted me as a 12-year-old on a Boy Scout Jamboree. But as an adult, I wasn't overly stoked to hear our president say this to a bunch of 12-year-olds.
I'll tell you a story that's very interesting for me. When I was young, there was a man named William Levitt, and he'd build homes, and at night he'd go to these major sites, and he'd scour the sites for nails. And then he was offered a lot of money for his company, and he sold his company for a tremendous amount of money, and he went out and bought a big yacht. And he had a very interesting life. I won't go any more than that because you're Boy Scout, so I'm not going to tell you what he did.
I think he then went on to say, oh, you're Boy Scouts, but you know life. Hold on one second.
Should I tell you? Should I tell you? Oh, you're Boy Scouts, but you know life.
Alrighty then. Like I said, adult me is sophomorically amused by this whole situation. 12-year-old me would have been freaking delighted if the president of these United States of America showed up and told me how to get rich and then get a whole bunch of sweet lovin' on a boat. But you know what? Children, the men and the women of tomorrow deserve better. Children deserve to not be dumbed down. Children deserve to not have the purity of their thoughts corrupted by the brokenness and by the bitterness that comes with adulthood. Whether it's a liberal or perhaps right-wing agenda behind an insidiously subtle and sometimes not so subtle plot in a college or a school curriculum to erode choice and critical thinking. Or a president who wants to take 40,000 12 to 16-year-olds whose hormones are furiously carbonated and equate a political agenda with cash, which can get you a boat, which can get you untold amounts of action. I'm not cool with that. And I hope you're not either. We, you, me, all of us, we have to be better than this. We have to be better than this for our kids, for the children of America. And this is a selfish thing. Our future is intrinsically wrapped up in these young human beings. And I guess I just feel like it's a shame. It's a real shame that there was a chance that Trump had to do some real good. And instead, he went, oh, these kids are, 12 to 16 years old. Ooh, some of them are going to be old enough to vote in 4 years. Let me see if I can't equate voting for me with yachts and sex. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Frederick Douglass. All right, Funkhouser. I suppose you're still wanting to know how you can tell if someone is into you, right?
Well,
we had this discussion a little bit on the show yesterday. We didn't have a chance to get to it, but if you are out there, as Funkhouser is, you're out there, right? You are you are dating. You're
meeting people.
I
have a lot of missed connections.
When you see somebody that you're attracted to and you summon up the will to go talk to them, you're probably thinking the whole time, are they into me? Is this going anywhere? Am I wasting my time? Should I ask them out on a date, or am I making an utter fool of myself? If only there was some sort of way that I could tell super quickly if they were into me as well. You probably wonder this. Didn't you say this occupies every waking moment of your thoughts a lot of the time?
Yeah. Yeah, when you're out there on the prowl, that's all you want to know.
Yeah, well, there is apparently an easy way to figure out whether or not she is into you, Funkhouser, and I'll share that with you and everybody else because I'm nice like that a little later on in the show. It's going to simplify your dating life. Right now, though, let's find out what is going on in the world.
Well, Alice Cooper found a $10 million Andy Warhol print he didn't even know he had.
Yeah, well, I ate a Funyun that I lost between two couch cushions a week ago, and it still tasted all right. So who's a real winner?
You know, I believe that about you and about Alice.
Can you imagine that? Oh, what's this I have here? Oh, it's $10 million. All right, put it on the pile.
Thousands of people who attended a Pokemon Go festival in Chicago were disappointed.
With the festival or their lives in general? Who still plays Pokemon Go? Like, I never went in for it. Like,
I saw a screenshot of something like a Pokestop was a graffiti print of like somebody with a butt, and it was like labeled something funny, and that took me back. I had a little bit of nostalgia for Pokemon Go at that point.
You know,
for half a second.
All I heard was nerd, virgin lived in my mom's basement. Like, a Pokey what now? A Pokestop? Like, and I'm a nerd. I read comic books. Like, but
you know why I like that game? Because it made public places that kids didn't go to, like libraries and monuments and stuff, and made it cool again. Those were the gathering places, you know, like go to the zoo. That was like the only thing I liked about it.
No, I heard that, you know, the aspect of getting around and being outside and, you know, having an activity as opposed to something where you're sitting there was a big selling point for it. And I have to imagine that, actually, I was going to say I have to imagine that there's going to be a glut of other similar games that are going to turn up really quickly, but it's been a while, and they haven't, have they? I mean, there's like Pokemon Go, and there it ends, right?
Mario Run was the last big game, and then I think that's it.
But was Mario Run something that you played by walking around and looking into your phone?
No.
Like, were you? Yeah.
You mean augmented reality? No, that was it.
Oh, that's a fancy word. Augmented reality.
It's my favorite fancy word.
Are there other augmented reality games? There's got to be so much
there's
augmented
probably
reality
so
porn
much
already, right?
Must be.
Yeah.
I can't think of any on top of my head, but there's many.
Well, I mean, none of them really caught on the same way Pokemon Go did. Like, and I think we would have known. I mean, I play Angry Birds, or at least I used to. I played Words with Friends until everybody started cheating. I hated when everybody started cheating at Words with Friends. It's like, sure, yeah, absolutely. Octogenarian on a triple letter score. That happened, not by accident.
Shining sun, you walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away. Radio 104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical sex.
So, do you get nervous approaching someone who is the romantic object of your affections? You go up to them, you're talking, you're trying to figure out, are you making a fool of yourself? Are you wasting your time? Should you ask them on a date, or should you just walk away quickly? Well, there's apparently a very, very easy way that you can tell whether or not somebody is into you, and we'll discuss this. It's going to simplify and improve your dating life like you wouldn't freaking believe. We'll talk about it a little later on in the show. Right now, though, Funkhouser, let's roll through what remains of the news.
Okay, thank you. Sunday night on the Discovery Channel, Michael Phelps lost a race to a simulated great white shark.
Yeah, we didn't know how the Michael Phelps versus the shark race was going to go. I was expecting to be disappointed, so I'd set my bar pretty low. I mean, you knew that he wasn't going to be in the water with a shark chasing after him.
I thought, was it augmented reality, though? That may be augmented reality right there.
I thought what they would have is some sort of dividing type of situation where he could swim alongside the shark without fear of getting hurt or touched by the shark. But no, it was a simulated great white shark. As low as my bar was set, that was still wildly disappointing. So yeah, Sunday night on the Discovery Channel, Michael Phelps lost a race to a simulated great white shark. And by the way, tonight on the Discovery Channel, I believe Ryan Lochte squares off against a simulated Rio police cruiser, same as the one that he had to deal with when he was an Olympian.
Wasn't me.
Here's the thing, though.
I was robbed.
Did you see how quickly Discovery Channel backpedaled? Discovery Channel claims that people should not be upset that Michael Phelps didn't race an actual shark in real time because they never said that's how it would go down. Well, no, they implied the hell out of it being something scary and interesting, not that. They said, quote, "The show took smart science and technology to make the challenge look more accessible and fun. All the promotion, interviews, and the program itself made it clear that the challenge wasn't a side-by-side race." No, it didn't. No, the promotion didn't, because I watched a lot of the promotion. I thought, hold on a second. Exactly how are they going to do this? I mean, I know he's not going to be in the water with a shark, clearly, but how are they going to do it? Yeah. It's not 100% true. It seems like they were intentionally being super cagey about the specifics to drum up interest in the race. Nonetheless, common sense should have told you, me, everyone, that there was no way Michael could race a real great white through the ocean side by side. I mean, come on. But I thought they were going to set something up that was a little bit more tantalizing than that. They did not. Go on.
President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, said he absolutely did not collude with Russia.
Can you say the whole thing in the Russian accent?
Well, my friend, Mr. President Trump, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, said...
say Jared Kushner again.
Jared Kushner? He said he... absolutely did not collude with the Russia motherland.
Yeah, then he added, "Now, I have places to be, so pardon me," and winked at the camera. You know what? I am convinced that just the idea of any kind of truth or reality is so far away from anything that we are being allowed to see. And it's like Trump doesn't care. I know people that were all into Trump. Not just people that voted for him because they went, I really dislike Hillary and everything she stands for, and I find her to be a criminal and all the above. But people that were hardcore, Trump is the man, Trump is the choice, Trump is the only choice, Trump will make America great again. This is going to be awesome. Just you wait and see. I know, rest of the world, you might have your doubts, but trust me on this one, everything's going to be great when Trump gets in there and does his Trumpy things. I know a lot of people like that who are like, I really think he's going to get impeached. Guys who are like very sort of politically astute and up in the game. Some people who even work in the world of politics who told me, yeah, I really like the potential in a Trump presidency, but I don't think we're ever going to be able to see that come to its fruition.
It's going down the tubers.
There's a very good chance that Trump, very well played, Funkhouser, could be impeached. Here's the thing, though. I don't think he will. I think that whatever the hell it is, we're never going to get anywhere near the truth in this situation. Because the train keeps a-rolling when many people thought it would stop. A lot of people dismissed Trump as being a bit of a joke of a candidate. Lots of people said, no, never going to happen. And this is every single election cycle for the past 12 years. And this time, same people said it's never going to happen. But America was ready for something different. And it's happening. And it continues to happen. And until the next election cycle rolls around, I don't think anything is going to change. I really don't. All this talk of collusion, all this talk of impeachment. I bet you now, Funkhouser.
Here comes a bet.
I'll bet you $100.
Oh, is that a Benjamin?
That is $100. I bet you we never get anywhere near impeachment. You willing to take that bet?
Define anywhere near.
I don't think there's ever going to be
a trial,
the real paperwork necessary for this sort of thing.
No trial.
Not even no trial, no paperwork filed to get to the trial.
Well,
I think they're never going to get enough to even get
I can't
close
take
to the
that
trial.
bet because he'll just resign right before it happens, and then you win.
Well, no. Like, if the paperwork is filed, then I'll pay you $100.
Oh, all right. It's a bet.
Okay? All right, cool.
This feels so understand.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KBRC, more stimulating talk radio. There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So, Funkhouser, how much longer do we have?
This is it. We got like 13.
Okay, all right. So we will, in fact, get to the simple technique that you can employ to see if they are, in fact, or are not into you. Right now, though, Funkhouser, let's talk a little bit about Anthony Scaramucci.
I was going to ask you how to pronounce that because that's a scary last name.
He's from. It's so Anthony Scaramucci sounds like so many kids I knew from Long Island.
Really?
Mom, I'm going to be at Anthony Scaramucci's house.
I'll come back when the lights come on, when the street lights come on.
Yeah. I'll ride my bike home once the lights are on. I didn't live in Long Island, but I had friends from Long Island. And then I did live in Long Island, not as a kid, but as an adult. When my band first came over to America, we lived in Glen Cove, Long Island. There was an amazing recording studio there called Cove City Sound Studios where we made our album. And folks like Billy Joel, Celine Dion, Twisted Sister, all these folks, all these really kind of like heavyweight people made their album at this studio. There's a lot of history there. It was really, really cool to be there. And I got a good taste of living in Long Island there. I lived for 9 months at the Tides Motor Inn in Bayville, New York, which was like, oh man, it was great. It was like right across the street from the beach in Long Island. And there was a really, really great Greek restaurant right down the street from it called the Souvlaki place. I still have one of their T-shirts. They made, and I was vegan, so I was like, what the hell am I going to eat? And I went down the street to Souvlaki place and ate falafel sandwiches all the time. They were so delicious, and not only that, it was like this little seaside resort town, and we were there in the off-season, so none of that stuff was really open, and there weren't a whole lot of people at the beach, especially not when the snow was gone. But in the spring, when all the snow sort of melted and it thawed a little bit, there was a batting cage right next to the hotel. It was great. Oh, man, I loved it. And I met a lot of kids with names like Anthony Scaramucci in Long Island. It was great. All of their moms were incredible cooks. Like, there's something about a Long Island. There really is something about people from Long Island. There's something about Jerry Seinfeld has said it over and over again. People from Long Island are funny. And he's absolutely right. And I don't know why that is. I don't know what's in the water. I don't know what's in the DNA. But people from Long Island, it was one laugh after another. It's great. Great stuff. But what about Anthony Scaramucci?
Oh, man. He says he'll fire anyone in the White House who leaks.
Did he remember that the president is 71? Maybe you should restrict that to leaking information.
Aw.
You know what Anthony Scaramucci's nickname is? The Mooch. Mooch. Yeah. He's like this. He's this political figure. He's a financier. He's a money dude.
A wolf of Wall Street.
He's currently serving as the White House communications director, and that's what he was talking about. With the leaks, he was like, anybody leaks any of the communications that are going on, which I'm directing, I'll fire him. And that'll be the end of that. Mooch. Fire the leak. Okay.
Sweden's approval rating of the United States dropped 83 points since Donald Trump took office.
There's measured approval ratings of what other countries think of us?
Yeah.
And I guess in Sweden's case, it's not good. How much did it drop?
83 points.
And this is Sweden, right?
It is.
So look for Trump to be adding ABBA to the travel ban any second.
Aw. They're so hot.
Take a chance on. They're like 100 years old now.
Still. I'm still waiting for a ABBA reunion. They offered him like hundreds of millions of dollars, and they said no.
Oh, it's like more than Led Zeppelin. It's like ABBA. I don't know if the soulful allure of ABBA passed America by, but I guess in the rest of the world, ABBA are literally the biggest thing ever. And like they had that Broadway musical. I don't know. It was like, I think they might have had a couple songs, a couple of Broadway musicals. Like the movie Mamma Mia, didn't that come from a Broadway musical? And
Is that an ABBA thing?
That's an ABBA thing. Mamma Mia. Here I go again. I am in ABBA. I don't really know their songs all that well, but that's the general gist of it. And then I think they had another one. I remember it was big in London when I was a kid. I think it was called Chess. It was like the ABBA musical. And so like they are bazillionaires upon bazillionaires. And I guess that's why they feel like it's not worth their while to reunite and go on tour. But it's like, take the amount of money that Richard Branson offered Led Zeppelin to reunite, double it, and you still don't have a figure that would get ABBA out of bed in the morning. It's crazy.
Do they have that much money? Is that why? I don't know. I still don't know why they won't do it.
Also, like, I really think they're like 100 years old. They're really old. They're like, they're old to the point where.
So you're saying they're
coming
like
out
retired
and disco dancing to songs like "Dancing Queen" would be tough. Go to Wikipedia, Funkhouser. Look this up. How old are the folks in ABBA? I'd be curious to know. But do it whilst and at the same time you're reading the next piece of news.
A pet translation device could be available within 10 years.
Yeah. I heard about this. Now, initially, I thought this was the greatest thing ever. I thought this was the greatest thing ever.
I do agree that climate change is not real.
Well, no, I would just, like, you think about this, and apparently there's real sort of hard science behind this. Like, the developer of it has identified that prairie dogs, when they're speaking to each other, have like 5 different words for predator. Like, they're identifying. And so, like, they figured out that prairie dogs have 5 different distinct words to describe a predator that's coming near them. And they figured out what the differences are between that. And they're like, hold on, if we can break this down in prairie dogs, we can do this in dogs and cats as well. Wouldn't it be great to be able to talk to your pet? And I thought about this, and I don't think I couldn't deal. Because initially you're thinking, wouldn't it be great to hear your dog say, hey, I love you, you're awesome, I'm here to be your best friend, I'm just gonna like love you and protect you every day, okay? All right, cool, you rock, dude, go out and get him. Oh man, a treat? Right on, I'm so excited. A treat. Oh, you're gonna throw that? Come on, throw it. This is awesome. Oh, you're the best, I love you. I think that would be so cool, but like I'm already so close to the dogs that I've had that anything that made them closer to me when they left would just make it's already devastating, like every dog I've ever had and every dog that ever passed away for whatever reason. It's just, it tears my heart out like you wouldn't believe. And if I knew what it was they were saying to me, oh my God.
Yeah.
No
way.
The idea of losing that, I couldn't. But yeah, apparently a pet translation device for people that do have more emotional fortitude than me will be available in 10 years. So in 10 years' time, you will be able to hear your dog say, I love you, you're the best, throw the ball, I'm going to love you and I'm going to protect you every day. And you'll finally be able to hear your cat tell you, you suck, give me treats, now go away quickly, I wish you were dead.
ABBA is... they did reunion in 2016, but it says they were active 1972 to 1982. And I'm just going to look up a random member. How about Bjorn Ulvaeus?
Sure.
Who is Bjorn? He's a songwriter. He was born 25 April 1945, which would make him 72.
Yeah. Although if they did the reunion in 2016, what kind of reunion? Because it wasn't like the tour that everybody was talking about, was it?
I don't know.
Like, wasn't it one of those? Well, wasn't it like one of those reunions that they did with the cast of Friends? Like now, for the first time in a room together, except for Matthew Perry didn't show up. It's the cast of Friends. Like that was the. Remember they. It was like a tribute to some television writer, and they're like, a Friends reunion. And it was just them sitting around in a room together talking about how great it was working with this one person, which was still kind of exciting. Like Fry and Laurie, Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, the great British comedy act. One went on to be Stephen Fry. The other one went on to be Hugh Laurie, the star of House. They started out years ago, and they did a reunion, but they didn't, do the thing that people wanted them to do. They didn't get together. They didn't write sketches. They just sat together in a room and talked on camera. And apparently they sit together in a room and talk all the time. They were really close, like they're best men at each other's weddings and stuff. And, it was just getting out of camera. So I don't think the ABBA reunion was, the thing that all the money was offered for, because I heard that they wouldn't do that. And if you're like, it's tough to be disco dancing if you're in your mid-70s, I would imagine.
Well, you just use augmented reality, and then you can get away with it.
Yeah. There you go.
The paint program. Oh, this is the worst news of the week. So
you're really against this. Like, so many people are really, really upset. But tell them,
I'm really upset. The paint program, may be removed in the next edition of Windows. I updated, and it's gone. Bye-bye. And now it's Paint 3D.
Microsoft Paint has been removed from the next edition of Microsoft Windows. And as you can tell, some people, like Funkhouser, are really upset. Fans of Microsoft Paint are so upset that they can't even bring themselves to play Oregon Trail while their Tamagotchi sleeps and they wait for their GeoCities website to load on Netscape Navigator. It's a tough day
I'll take
for
it.
people like Funkhouser.
No problem. I'll accept.
No, I use Paint all the time. I haven't even seen... I use Paint all the time.
Rotate, crop, resize,
yeah.
I
mean, maybe
how am I ever
going to
know what 400 pixels is?
The resizing thing is super useful. In our little media-dominated world, so much of it has become digital, and a lot of the time they're like, this picture isn't big enough to use as a thumbnail on whatever, and so you pop it in Paint and you just resize it, and it's super easy. And I would imagine those functions that we like have to be in Paint 3D, but when you lose something like an old school, easy to understand interface that like the back of your hand, it can be
goodbye, old friend.
Wrench. Yeah,
you were fun to play with.
Oh, and by the way, as someone under the age of 50, let me be the first to say, what the hell is Microsoft Windows? How much time do we have left? We don't want to lose
1 minute.
Oh gosh, golly and gee whiz! All right, where did it go? So, Funkhouser, you're talking to a girl, and you're wondering if she's into you. There's an easy way to tell if you're wasting your time, if you should ask her out on a date, if you're making a fool of yourself. Apparently, if you're on a date and the other person won't stop staring at your feet, it doesn't mean that they've got a raging foot fetish. According to a new study, if somebody looks at your feet or your legs, it means they're not interested in you in a romantic or sexual way. Yeah. According to a new study, if someone looks at your feet or legs, it means that they're not interested in you in a romantic or sexual way, especially if you're wearing Crocs. Now, here's the thing. The researchers found that if someone is into you, Funkhouser, you need to watch out for this one. They found that if someone is into you, they're going to keep their eyes focused on your head and chest. And men will also check out your hips. If you're a lady, if guys are looking at your hips, whether they're consciously or subconsciously assessing their childbearingness, it's a sure sign that they are way into you and would like to get all up in that. You're welcome.
I just hate you so much.